Hello everyone, welcome back to Victoria 3. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to form Australia. So, quick spoiler warning, the ability to form Australia is completely tied to GDP, so out of the few states here that can form Australia, we are going to choose the one with the highest GDP, that being New South Wales. Alright, so first things first, how exactly do we go about forming Australia? Forming Australia is not like forming any of the other countries I have made videos on so far, so we're going to head over to the Journal tab this time. Next, we're going to go over to the Decisions tab, and we're going to see this big decision right here that says Federate Australia. Essentially, what this will do is, whenever we click this button, we will annex one of our neighbors that is a subject of the British Empire. Now, in order to actually be able to press this button, there are a few stipulations that must be reached. We must research nationalism, we must have relations with Great Britain be 50 or higher, and we must also have amicable relations with our neighbor that we wish to annex. So, first things first, we're going to start improving relations with people. The first one being Great Britain, as they are the ones that get to decide if we get to annex our neighbors or not. Second would be Western Australia in my case. Now, Western Australia is not the strongest out of all the nations we could annex, but I have noticed that quite a few gold regions will spawn in this area, so we will be trying to take them over first. Second, we are going to come over to the Research tab, and we are going to come over to Society and start researching nationalism, as that is the other prerequisite we need. Now, because these two colonial areas are also part of what is required to form Australia, we're going to need some colonization. So, we're going to come over to the Politics tab, go to our government, and we are going to see that the rural folk are in charge. Now, rural folk do not support colonization laws, so we're going to reform our government and take them out of the government. We're going to click this tab right here, the highest legitimacy that doesn't include the rural folk. We're going to hit confirm, going to come over to laws, colonial affairs, and for this run I'm going to pick colonial exploitation because that is very slightly faster in colonizing because you can get more revolts that way, but in my opinion colonial resettlement is much stronger and should be taken if you plan to play this game through a long time and colonize anywhere else. But for the purposes of this video, I will be trying to do colonial exploitation. You see that it has a 12% chance of success, which is not very high, so hopefully the debate doesn't hurt us over in the future, and we're going to unpause the game. So, the last thing we're going to do, come over to the Buildings tab. I'm going to set up my construction the way I want to. I'm just going to tell these two to automatically expand, and I'm going to change this over to Harvesting Tools. Alright, we're going to pause again because of this right here. There is a potential revolution. There is a chance that your interest groups will revolt if you try to force colonial exploitation or colonial resettlement. If they are going to revolt, I suggest actually letting them revolt because I have found that Great Britain will actually help you crush the revolution pretty easily, and then that'll remove the power of those interest groups that try to revolt against you, making it way easier to enact colonialism. But it does not look like they're going to be able to revolt this time because they only have radicalism up to 63. So we're going to be fine this time. Hopefully I can get it forced through the government. It is going to be a little bit difficult though. Never mind, it was actually super easy, barely an inconvenience. Do not take that little bit of success and assume that is how it's going to be when you do it. It will probably be a little bit more difficult, and if you can't get it on the first run, say your chance to pass that law goes to 0, try for the other one. Try and put the people in charge who support it the most, and take the people out of government who disapprove of it. Also, just in case you do not know, in order to start a colony, you simply have to come down to the Diplomatic Lens tab, click on Establish Colony, and just click on the interest region where you want that colony to start, and it will start colonizing for you. Now we can go back and unpause the game. We will pause it again once nationalism has researched. Alright, we have researched nationalism fully. Our relationship with Great Britain and our neighbor is not up to 50 yet, so we're going to go ahead and start another research. We are going to go over to central banking for 2 reasons. First off, it allows us to bankroll our neighbors to increase how fast our relations go up, which is very nice. Second, it gives us a 10% minting modifier, which, because of the amount of gold that we will be finding in Australia, this is actually very powerful. Again, unpause the game, we're going to wait until our relations with our neighbors are amicable. Alright, our relations with Western Australia have finally reached 50, along with Great Britain. So we're going to come over to the Journal tab, go back to this Decisions page, and you're going to see that Federate Australia is now lit up in green. So we're going to click this button, God Save the Queen, and we have now unified with Western Australia. We are now a much larger New South Wales. At this point, start improving relations with Van Diemen's Land and the United Tribes with your excess influence. And we are going to wait exactly 2 years in order to federate Australia because it says we must not have the Australian Unifier modifier, which is what we got from hitting this button. If you would like to see how long it's going to take for that modifier to be removed, you can right-click on your country, click on Information, come over to the Modifiers tab at the top right, you're going to see Australian Unifier, time remaining 31 months. Alright, and we also finished up with central banking. At this point, you can research whatever you want. Alright, our Australian Unifier modifier is now gone. This means that we can come back over to the General tab, and as long as our relations with South Australia are above 50, we can click this button again, and we will get God Save the Queen again, and we will have New South Wales. Now, for South Australia, though, because they are a state that is fully colonized, we can come down to the political lens, hit state actions, and we can actually incorporate them. Again, we will wait another 32 months for the Australian Unifier modifier to leave, and we will repeat the same step with Van Diemen's Land and the United Tribes. Looks like Van Diemen's Land has decided to actively damage relations with us. This is why we took central banking earlier, because now we can add them to bankroll and continue to increase our relations with them, even though they are actively fighting us. Now, just a quick tip, if you ever see this icon pop up while trying to unify Australia, this is an indicator that the modifier of Australian Unifier has ended. It doesn't always do that, but sometimes it does if your prestige drops low enough. So come back over to the Journal tab. We're going to hit Federate Australia once again, God Save the Queen, and we have now united with Van Diemen's Land. So the only other country that we can unify with will be United Tribes, the rest we must colonize ourselves. So at this point, let's begin to look at how we actually form Australia once all of this is federated. So if you come over to the journal entry, you're going to see in the Journal tab, Federate Australia. Once you own 7 out of the 9 states, you will trigger the event of Australian Federation. Unfortunately, hovering over this tab does not tell you what this does, but I have done it enough to tell you what it does. You will become a dominion of the British Empire instead of a puppet. This means that you can declare wars against other countries yourself and do your own expansion. And once again, the Australian Unifier modifier has left us, meaning we can click the Federate Australia decision one more time, and this time when we click it, it's actually going to trigger the Federate Australia journal entry, so we will see that real quick. Federate Australia, God Save the Queen, unpause for just a second. Federate Australia was successfully completed. So we're going to hover over this, we're going to get Australian Federation, which is plus 20% prestige, and we will become a dominion instead of a puppet of Great Britain. Now, after this, we can also come over to the Cultures tab and go to Nation Formation, and you click on Australia. We can actually form Australia by clicking this button. We will do that, and there you have it. You are now Australia. Alright, well, it took about 10 years to do, but we finally colonized all of Australia and New Zealand. What I recommend from here, take your colonization and go over into South America, colonize this, because I believe, let me double check this here, Great Britain has a strategic interest in La Plata, meaning if you want to go to war with, say, Argentina and Chile, they're probably going to back you. Now, at this point, do I recommend breaking away from Great Britain? No. For 2 reasons. First off, staying in the British market is just so powerful in this game. Having access to all of these resources across the globe is just way too valuable to leave. Second, I think the color you changed to kind of sucks. It's like this weird greenish color that's not very appealing to look at. But yeah, that's going to do it for Australia. Like I say, next step, I just say go colonize South America, go colonize Papua. Go do whatever your heart desires. Definitely lean into the minting aspect. You're going to have so much gold as Australia. I kid you not. Probably the highest gold production in the world other than like Peru. So anyway, if you found this helpful, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more content like this in the future, I'm going to keep making tutorials like this. So feel free to subscribe if that's something you're looking into. And leave a comment letting me know which country you want to see done next. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. Goodbye.